In 16 seasons, 446 Monsters have suited up for 1,199 hockey games. We've worn over 70 different sweaters. We've used our threads to represent our affiliations, to show pride in a vibrant sports city with a rich hockey history. We've celebrated characters that have captivated our imagination. Real American heroes. And the people we fight for. We've had a lot of jerseys, as colorful and diverse as the city they represent. Yeah, we've assembled quite a palette over the years. Out of all these threads, there's two colors that run through. Two colors that lie as deep in our history as the oldest shipwrecks in Lake Erie. This is Monsters Hockey, in black and blue. Like the bruises we wear like badges earned along the boards and in front of the net, going the extra mile to gain the extra inch. Blue is inspired by the waters we thrive by, the colors we wear, and a championship legacy that goes back decades. Black is as dark and tough as the monster itself and the deepest depths of Lake Erie. Plus, a little gold always helps us shine. These colors have always been at the heart of Monsters Hockey. And now, we're wearing our hearts on our sleeves. We're the Cleveland Monsters. And this is Black and Blue Hockey. Hi again, Monsters fans, and welcome to the 2023-2024 AHL season. As you can see, with the Monsters clad in their new black and blue look here, we are back at the Monsters official practice facility. It's now called Brunswick Automart Arena here in Strongsville, but the players on the ice and getting ready for a great season of hockey. Tony Brown here with you. We'll hear from Brad Thiessen in just a little while. We'll have a lot of great stuff from training camp today, including conversations with both our general manager, Chris Clark, and second-year head coach Trent Vogelhuber. But as always on Monsters OT, it's time to start with headlines. Well, the headlines are too numerous, really, to count, so we thought we'd break them up this way at the start of a new season. We'll go through a couple of graphics here showing some key returning players, some key rookie additions to the club, and some guys on American League contracts who you can bet will be in a Monsters uniform all season long. So let's start with some of these key returning players. Now, we're going to sort of span the forward and defensive groups here, also the goaltenders, but we'll start with Josh Dunn. This is a guy that had a big season last year in the American League, hit that 20-goal milestone, and now comes in as a veteran guy ready to anchor the middle of this Cleveland forward group. Trey Fix-Wolanski, what can you say about him other than that he's a record-setting performer in a Monsters uniform? 71 points last year, the most for any Monsters player in a single campaign. Carson Meyer is back, a key top six forward at the American League level. Same deal with Tyler Angle. He's a guy now with 3 years of experience in Cleveland, and he's versatile. He can play wherever he is needed to play throughout the forward group. Also on the blue line, some really big returning players. Talking, of course, about AHL All-Star Jake Christensen, but also Billy Sweezy, a key part of the leadership group and a guy who plays with a physical edge and will have a lot of confidence at his disposal this year. He made his NHL debut for the Blue Jackets last season. Marcus Bjork, another guy who came over prior to last year from Europe. Last year, a huge campaign for him, his first in North America. Big chunk of games in the NHL, big chunk of games in the American League too, and he's back in a Cleveland uniform to start the season. And finally, you got to talk about Jet Greaves when you're talking about key pieces for this 23-24 Monsters club. He is the number one goaltender here in Cleveland to start the year, and the Blue Jackets are really excited for the opportunity that all this playing time here with the Monsters presents to Jet and the organization. Moving on, let's take a look at some of the key rookies who will be on the club this year. Corson Kuhlmans and Stanislav Svozil are two guys that got into games for the Monsters at the end of last year, but come highly touted and ready to contribute in that Monsters defensive core. Also want to highlight some other key rookies up front. James Malatesta, what did he do last year? Well, he was the Memorial Cup MVP in the Quebec Major Junior League for the Quebec Ramparts there, so he comes in really raring to get his pro career underway. Hunter McCown was one of the big scorers in college hockey last year at Colorado College, got into a couple of games for the Blue Jackets last season. He's ready to make an impression here in Northeast Ohio, as is Cameron Butler, who also got into a few games late in the season last year after capping his junior career, so he's not totally unfamiliar with Cleveland. And a really exciting young player down the middle of that forward group, Luca Del Bel-Belluz, high-scoring player in Major Junior, and this rookie season for him presents a real opportunity to make a name for himself in the AHL. And finally, let's take a look at some of the American League contracts that are on the books to start the season. Roman Ashan is back, Cole Clayton as well. Owen Sillinger, who was the team's Ironman last year, the only guy to play in all 72 games for the Monsters, is back, as is Jake Gaudette. Justin Pearson, a couple of games at the end of last year, but he's back on an American League deal. And backing up Jet Greaves, presumably to start the season, Pavel Chayan back in the picture for the Monsters with a pretty cool looking new setup as well, with his goalie pads highlighting the Monsters' brand new primary logo. Well, those are some of the guys that are expected to contribute for the Monsters this year. Right now, though, time to move on Monsters OT. When we come back, we'll hear from General Manager Chris Clark and Head Coach Trent Vogelhuber. It's all coming up right here on Monsters OT, presented by the UH Drusinsky Sports Medicine Institute. Only here on Bally Sports, Great Lakes. Monsters OT is presented in part by our friends at Labatt Blue. Welcome back, everyone, to Monsters OT, presented by the UH Drusinsky Sports Medicine Institute here on Bally Sports Great Lakes. And with training camp underway here at BAM Arena in Strongsville, who better to talk to than the head coach of the Monsters, Trent Vogelhuber. Vogues, thanks for taking a few minutes here. This is one of the most exciting times of the year, isn't it? You guys have all, in Columbus camp at least, been working and toiling for weeks now, but for the fans here in Cleveland to feel like it's hockey season again, it's a fun time of the year.
Big time. Yeah, we've been waiting a long time, especially when you don't make the playoffs, right? Those summers are too long. So we've been antsy and ready to go. These guys have had a great camp in Columbus. Our coaching staff's been there for basically the full month of September. So we've gotten our feet wet for sure. But doing it in Cleveland in our building, with our flavor as a coaching staff and with our guys is certainly special.
Well, for you, for the players too, but for you and the rest of the staff, what is that Columbus training camp experience like, and how does that help you get ready for what you're doing here in Cleveland?
Yeah, we were involved. It's a collaborative environment there. Pazzi has been outstanding. We're running practices and helping with meetings and even coaching during some of the games there. So between Traverse City and training camp there for us coaches, we're back in the swing of things as well and have kind of had our exhibition games also.
Let's talk a little bit about the group that you have here to start the season. It's kind of a transition year, isn't it? I mean, tons of depth within the Blue Jackets organization, but specifically with some of the leaders here in Cleveland. I mean, there's no Dylan Simpson, there's no Brett Gallant. Some of those fixtures aren't here, and some new guys are here that are really going to make a splash.
Yeah, big time. We're excited for the young players we have coming in, and there's like you mentioned, Simmer and Galley are gone, but we've got a good core that have been here for 1-2+ years as well, that are going to be tasked with stepping into some of those leadership roles. Right, we didn't really go out and get any veteran leaders in the American League, so we're hoping that we can develop that from within. Guys can step up as they mature and become third or fourth year pros. Can become leaders, and we're going to need them because we're going to have a super young team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to drill down for the fans there, who are some of those names? We're talking about the Billy Sweezys, Carson Myers, guys like that.
Yeah, Gauntz has been here for a while. Billy Sweezy, Carson Meyer, Dunner, guys like that. The Christies, the Fixies, all those guys have been here for about 4 years now. So it's time that they take that onus on themselves. And they know the lay of the land in this league, and all those guys have played games in the NHL as well. So they've got a lot to offer our young players, and by this time have they've been through it all, so they should be able to, steady our ship when we need it.
Let's talk about a couple of individual guys. Wanted to, of course, since you mentioned him, touch on Trey Fix-Wolanski. I mean, his season last year, record-setting for this franchise. Sort of what do you want to see from him in the early weeks of the season here that's going to let you know he's taking that next step?
Yep, I want him to play with the energy he has to. Realistically, at his size, to play in the National Hockey League consistently, he's got to be a ball of energy. And it's easy, and you can fall into the trap as a player his caliber to come to the American League and not float around, but take a deep breath a little bit, knowing that you've had so much success in this league. We can't allow that, and I think he's mature enough at this point in his career to not let that seep in. But we need him leading the charge there from energy-wise, leadership. And so he can pick up right where we left off and even get better. We're always working on the details away from the puck with all our players, but with him specifically.
We're talking here with Monsters head coach Trent Vogelhuber. We're at Monsters training camp right now on Monsters OT. And Vogues, I also got to ask you about Jet Greaves. This seems like a big year for him, right? He's now really the guy here in Cleveland. He has a huge opportunity, and this is where Columbus wants him to be right now.
Yeah, well, here's another guy. I mean, you kind of look over the goalies as far as leaders, but he's another one that is a leader in our room. There's no question about it. If you're around him day to day, it's no surprise that he's kind of had the success and earned that spot the way he has. He's the first player here, the last one gone. Works harder than anybody. Is a good teammate. Kind of embodies all the things that we're going to try to instill in all of our players. So. I don't worry much about Griever just because of his day-to-day process and his work habits.
Couple more for you here. Let's go with the depth. You guys have tons of resources as a staff at your disposal here in terms of players. How are you going to balance that at the start of the year? Because it is a puzzle to get everyone in there.
It is, and it's always difficult at the beginning of a year when maybe you feel like you've got a logjam and there's a lot of players that can play. But the message is that over time, the best players are going to play. These guys control their ice time at the end of the day, not us, and everybody's going to get a chance to play. It's a long grind of a season for us and our club in Columbus, playing 72, 82 plus games. It can be frustrating and it can be a punch in the mouth for some guys right away who I'll admit deserve to be in the lineup in the American League. That's just the nature of the business, and you have to be a good pro about it, be a good teammate while it's happening, be ready for your opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, and as a coach, I mean, that's a great situation to be in, right? I mean, on a given night, you have options, and that's what you want.
Yeah, good teams have good players sitting out of their lineup. So, early on, we're fortunate, I guess, to have the kind of depth that we do. Hopefully, we can have some luck in the health department, so we can sustain that for as long as possible.
Final question. There are a ton of rookie players on this team that are ready to make an impact, that have done great things at lower levels. Give us a couple of names for fans to watch out for in the first couple of months of the season.
Yeah, on forward, you got James Malatesta, who was the Memorial Cup MVP last year in Quebec. He's just a good pro already. He's a horse in the weight room, works hard. He's got a lot of skill to complement that as well. I think Justin Pearson is another guy who's we just had him for a handful of games last year, but he's got a motor, and again, he plays the way that we want our team to play. So we're excited to have him, and Hunter McCown's another one on forward as well. So we haven't even gotten to the defenseman, but I'm not gonna, I'll cut it off there. We've got plenty. Yeah, we've got plenty there, so it'll be exciting, but it's a big step for those guys as well, and it's a long season. None of them have played the amount of games they're going to be asked to play. So, there's always growing pains with those young players, but that's what we're here for.
Vogues, it is, October right now? It'll be April before we know it. Thank you for doing this. First of many this year.
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that is Trent Vogelhuber. With that, we'll take a break. More Monsters OT straight ahead on Bally Sports, Great Lakes. Back, everyone, to Monsters OT, presented by the Drusinsky Sports Medicine Institute here on Bally Sports Great Lakes. Tony Brown back with you, and we are happy to be joined now by the Monsters General Manager, Chris Clark. Clarky, thanks for taking a few minutes. Let's hop right into it. There's a ton to talk about with the team this year. Let's start with depth. We talked about it with Trent, and that's sort of the name of the game for you guys to start this season.
Yeah, it is. It's something. It's going to be some tough decisions, but those are the decisions you want to have because then we're going to have a deep team. And as you know, the American League season, we're gonna use everybody.
Yep.
We just don't know when it's going to be or how far into the season, but hopefully it's nothing like it was last year. But every year, you're going to go through your players.
Let's talk about just sort of a transition maybe in the leadership group a bit. I mean, there were some players like Dylan Simpson, the outgoing captain, and Brett Gallant that had sort of been here for quite some time, and now it's a new group that's stepping into that sort of void. So who are some of those guys, whether they're wearing letters or not, that you guys are going to turn to this year to lead this group?
We got some guys coming in that are going to be leaders, but we got guys that have been here a little while, like we talked about. With Dunn, Meyer, Sweezy, that are wear our A's, and Gantz will be our captain. But those are the guys that we're going to have a leadership group. It's not going to be run by the captains. We're going to have a leadership group, and from what I like to have, you like to have your team lead your group. You got the older guys. We have some rookies coming in. Obviously, they're not going to be those guys, but they will be in a few years if they're still here. But we bring in those character guys that they're going to lead by example, and then they're going to hold each other accountable in the locker room.
For sure, and in lots of different roles as well. There's also guys a little further down maybe on the depth chart right now, like a Stefan Mateau, that have been around this league, know what it's about, and they can just sort of show these rookies, and there's a lot of them this year, what the American League's about.
Exactly, and those are the guys we like because they're going to do the right things on and off the ice, but they're also going to be the guys, as soon as the coaches leave the locker room, that they're going to be the guys talking about what they talk about. This is what we're going to do, guys. We're here to win, we're here to develop, and we're going to do it as a team.
Let's talk a little bit about that group of rookies. There are a lot of really exciting players on this team to start the year. So I'm going to give you a couple of names, and you tell me and tell the fans, too, what to expect. Let's start with a guy who had a huge year last year in junior, and that's James Malatesta.
Yeah, he's a player that I haven't seen a lot of live, but I've seen a lot on tape and a lot of his shifts. But he's a guy that can do a lot of everything. He's very skilled. He can skate. He can get under your skin, he can aggravate, he can score, he can do everything. So we're going to count on him to be a big part of our lineup this year.
Talk about a big part of the lineup. How about the biggest guy on the team right now, Dmitry Voronkov? He's not really a rookie, but it's his first year in North America, so the fans are going to notice him.
Oh, 100%. You're going to notice him as soon as he steps onto the ice. He's a guy, again, he brings a lot of tools. He's 230 pounds. That's Ovechkin size. He can hit, he can grind, he can score, he can skate, he can do a lot of things. So he's the guy that we're all looking forward to watching.
We're talking here with Monsters General Manager Chris Clark on Monsters OT. Clarky, let's talk about the coaching staff a little bit. Of course, Trent is back for his second season as the head coach, but the staff is almost entirely intact. How important is that to sort of picking up where you left off last year?
I think it's great. And, they know each other. There's, we got Mike Monty coming in as our video coach. He stepped in. He's seamless. He's a great guy. He knows his stuff. He knows everything. He gets the coaches prepared for each practice and game. But just having the coaches, the camaraderie, and the guys who are around all summer and working with the Blue Jacket coaches as well. So, we're going to be doing the exact same stuff that they're doing in Columbus. So it's going to be a seamless transition when these guys get called up and down, and having the coaches there and the players and knowing each other is huge help.
Always striving for that continuity, for sure. So let's talk about the relationship and the affiliation, because it's been almost a decade now that the Blue Jackets and Monsters have been working together. And from your perspective, what makes this so successful, so effective from an NHL perspective?
I think the biggest thing is it's a great relationship because the people in Cleveland are awesome. Working with Mike Ostrowski and Jock Hollander is I probably have the easiest job in the league because I get to work with guys like that on a game-to-game basis. But just with the proximity, I'm up 2-3 times a week just for practice, and then all the games, and then meeting the guys on the road. But I think it works that well, and it's also a major league city, and we get to work with some of the Cavs people in the office, and our players get to kind of have the same as if they were in the NHL. We're treated very well within the organization and within the umbrella, so I think the players definitely see that as well.
And on the other side of the coin, it's great too, right? For the guys that are in Cleveland to be able to go, if the schedule allows, check out a Blue Jackets game or just have that sort of relationship with folks in Columbus too.
Yeah, and there's been times in the past, whether it's with our organization or other organizations, you don't see many people from the parent club coming in and out, but every game, every home game that we have, I'm there, but we also have somebody else from the office that's always there. So the guys see that before and after games, and they know that they're not just in another country or another wherever where they're not being seen. So there's always eyes on all these players.
Well, it's a super exciting time of year, Clarkie. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes, and I can't wait to see this team on the ice on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, that is Chris Clark, Monsters general manager. With that, we're going to take a quick break, but there's plenty more Monsters OT straight ahead on Valley Sports Great Lakes. Welcome back, everyone, to Monsters OT, presented by the UH Drusinsky Sports Medicine Institute here on Valley Sports Great Lakes, alongside Brad Thiessen, Tony Brown here with you. Now, Brad, there's a lot that's new this season for the Monsters, right? And so on Monsters OT, we need some new stuff, too. So we have a new segment. Gone are the Monster memories, although they'll live in our hearts forever. But now we're going to focus on Monsters alumni, because over the course of 16 American League seasons, there's a lot of great names that have passed through that dressing room. And the guy we're talking about today, the outgoing captain.
Yeah, Dylan Simpson is, after his stint as captain is gone, retired, moving on to the coaching ranks. And what a great captain he was. He was someone that, as a Monsters captain, was a leader. Someone to show the ropes for the young guys, and just on and off the ice, someone that really, was a key figure for the Monsters.
Absolutely. I mean, in the community, as one of the leaders on the team, of course, he was very active, which we all got used to seeing over his time with the club. But if we go back to on the ice, Brad, one thing I really like about him is no ego, right? I mean, he's willing to do whatever the team needs him to do, and that's what a captain should be.
Yeah, he was. He's a defenseman, but oftentimes you see him in the lineup as a forward because that's where the team needed him, and there was never pushback on that. He was all in on whatever the team needs, and that's what a captain does, and that's what the guys in the room see every day with Dylan.
So not only is he done as the Monsters captain, but he's retired now. You did that in transition to coaching. What's he in for as he goes back to his alma mater now as an assistant coach with the University of North Dakota?
Yeah, I'm sure, I don't think he planned this right away, but for him, I know he was super excited to be able to go back to his alma mater and jump into coaching right away. It's going to be different, not lacing the skates up and be standing behind the bench, but for him, he's gonna do great in that transition and be able to really relate to the young guys and be able to teach them that new role.
And to do so in an environment that's so familiar to him as the program in which he played in college. So that is Dylan Simpson. He's our first Monsters alumni of the new year. And that's Brad Thiessen, and that's the first episode of Monsters OT for the new season. Brad, thanks for taking a few minutes, man, and can't wait to get these games underway for real.
Yeah, good to have you guys out here.
All right. That's Brad Thiessen. I'm Tony Brown. Big thanks goes out to, of course, Jeremy Hawks, Leo Simone, the rest of our outstanding crew, everybody here at BAM Arena in Strongsville for hosting Monsters training camp, and a big thanks goes out to you, the fan, for being a part of Monsters hockey, this new era of Monsters hockey, black and blue hockey, right here on Valley Sports Great Lakes. See you next time, everybody.